You know how sometimes you go to do a one-shot with a group, and it takes 4 sessions?
You mean every time?
Not every time.
No, you're pretty good at doing one-shots in one shot. I'm not.
Of the 3 of us, I believe John is the only one to actually pull off a one-shot.
In a
Bridget
one-shot.
came in from outside and handled it.
That's true.
So that would not have
be
been
one of
between
us.
the 3 of us.
Well, yes, of course. If you want to get down to semantics, I can count, you know. I went to elementary school
at least
some
to 4.
days. But one-shots in one shot.
I think there's an art to it, which I have not grasped. And the times that we've played them, it's been with our local family group.
Right.
So if we're really getting into something, 9 o'clock is not really the deadline.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, we'll stop there and we'll start it next time. When streaming or doing something in that kind of video format, then that can be a deadline. Like you really got to get it done.
Yeah.
In this block of time. So when Bridget came and did the Call of Cthulhu scenario for us, 2 hours took us through a one shot. When we did the Carrie commission,
Got done in 4.
came in 3.5, 4 hours, boom, done. So I was thinking about those things and, you know, what I might notice from the way that they did things, of how you can, it kind of harkens back to our last topic, right? How do you do a one shot in a specified amount of time without taking away player agency or coming across as railroading?
You have one-shots are a tool to get non-committal players invested in a full campaign, and that's
a very good tool.
very true.
We've done that. I mean, we've done that here multiple times. I think the difference
What's
for
up,
me...
Hercules?
I think the difference between the two for me is when you're DMing a one-shot, I know that I have the option to go off and do something stupid. I know I have the option to explore things way deeper than I would normally, because I know between me and you, like if a one-shot becomes a 3-shot,
We must have been having fun.
we were having a great time. And we had a great time with Bridget and Carrie. But the difference is that I wanted to stay with... So when she put something in front of me, it was a split-second decision. Like, it was, I need to decide right now what I'm doing, stick to it, own it, move on. So
But did you ever feel like, with either Bridget or Carrie, that when you wanted to, like, do something, look at something, investigate something, that you got a short answer, short shrifted on it, and they're like, oh, you don't see anything, and then like you're pointing back this way? Because I never felt that way with either of them.
To be fair, we did get locked in a room in both of them.
That is fair.
Is a little bit. If there's any people that could go off the rails and chase, red herrings in a locked room, it would be us. But I think I noticed a kind of a recipe, a format for one shots by watching that I think I would like to try out, because I think that is how you could wrap it up. Really
is it a
quick.
secret recipe, or
No,
share
I
it?
was going to share it.
Oh, yay.
So, first things first, I think you should have one major battle encounter.
Yeah.
Maybe 1.5 if the second one is just a real quick thing.
Right.
You have time in the intro to like present the issue, the thing, what's going to lead to the battle, and you give some role play time for folks to get there. And then you've got to have something that pushes them to the battle. The hook has got to be so good that they're going to get there. You have that battle, and then some time afterwards for the repercussions of the battle, the role play afterwards when the characters talk about what happened, what that means for the world.
Right.
That's pretty much what I noticed. Intro and some role playing, a single encounter, role playing, and wrap up.
Yeah. And I also think I noticed in there something that they did that helped, I think, keep it was like, Bridget would tell us, okay, this happens. Rick, what do you do? What do you do? What do I do? And she would go to us individually. What do you do? So it wasn't just okay, this happens. And then we stare blankly at each other because that's what we do. You just wait for one of us to.
Yeah. When she says, what do you do? We stare at each other.
we just stare at each other. But when something happens in your campaign, you stop and let us take a breath and decide kind of organically between the two of us how we're going to react. Whereas they directed it and kept it almost in like a turn order, and it kept us moving. It kept us thinking and on our feet and not like waffling in the moment and being like, well, it could be this or it could be. No, I'm going to go over, like we had to make decisions. And I think that helped a lot too. So I think when you're one-shotting, you really have to kind of have the chaos of player interaction organized in a way that's still fun, but productive. And when we're playing, we don't do that because we are very ADD as a group and can't.
We have done it before.
Yeah, but
we don't generally do it. But again, it comes down to sometimes you feel out your keeper and they need something to happen, or sometimes you have a time constraint. Sometimes your keeper knows you have a time constraint. I think what you said about short role play encounter or half an encounter, a little more role play, and then big encounter, and then it's winding down. That was gospel. That was pretty much what helped me have the lightless
beacon.
The lightless beacon in 2 hours was that if you wandered around outside, there was a storm incoming. At any point, it could have hit you if I decided you had wandered around outside long enough and weren't doing anything. On the inside, you had a encounter, which
is a pretty epic encounter, by the way. I still think about that one.
The first encounter wasn't the epic one. The first encounter was just to show you the mechanics that were possible in the later encounter.
Which was epic.
I needed y'all to know that they had paralyzing spikes because if you got caught off guard, one of you got hit with one.
So that's a good example of like a half an encounter.
Right. A tasty
and build up to the main encounter.
One of the fundamentals of game design. You start out with something small that they can be and then upscale it.
So in chat, Joe said that it depends, in his opinion, it depends. Like for a keeper, it's much better to do it in a one shot, but for players, it could be more fun when it's done in more than one session. So I think that's really important too, because if you're in the moment and it's just feeling good and you can keep going, like it doesn't have to be a one shot. And if it's feeling good for your players and you have that ability, I wholeheartedly agree with stretching it out and letting them experience that.
Right. So whenever we've done something we thought was a one shot and it turned into a 3-shot, it turned into a 3-shot because we enjoyed what we were doing and we kept going. Yeah. I was just really coming at it from when you have a situation where, no kidding, this needs to be a one shot. Right. Let's say we're going to do a charity stream, right? And we're going to do a one shot in 3 hours. Right? At the end of that, the folks that came to the stream don't want to hear, I guess we're going to have to finish this up next week or something, right? It's a one shot. So when you are really time constrained, like it needs to be done in one shot, how should you go about it? Beercules says, it's, I guess he responding to when I was talking about quick opening, a major encounter, that's kind of like how movies are in, right?
It is.
You just follow that kind of act 1, act 2, act 3 kind of thing.
Video games too.
Yeah, there's there's a build-up, there's a climax, and there's a de-escalation, basically.
Keeper is the Call of Cthulhu version of a game master.
Yeah.
The keeper of arcane lore.
And I will say this, that there are some one-shots that, to me, no matter how we play them, would have never been a one-shot. There are things that people label as a one-shot that, to me, just have too much stuff in them to have been a one-shot. I've seen other ones that perfectly sync up to a one-shot. They've got the right amount of content, the right amount of stuff going on to be a good one-shot. And then there's some other ones where like, yeah, this is a one-shot. And I open them, I'm like,
I think some of that's different playing styles, right?
Yeah.
The person who wrote that one-shot that you look at and say that is never a one-shot, her, and their group may have a playing style where they just zip through a lot of stuff. We'd have stopped and said, let me count how many flowers are on this petal.
Right. It's important.
It might come in handy later.
It's a puzzle.
But I think also that initial period, right? The introduction with a little bit of role playing, that kind of establishes the call to action that's going to get you to the encounter. you can add a sense of urgency to that call
Yeah.
of action
And then
to get there.
second act, you raise the stakes up a little bit, maybe hurt the players if it's
We
appropriate.
like hurting the players.
And then third act, you resolve everything, bring it all together.
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle. You've got a one shot.
So I definitely think that that's a super helpful tip, like how you progress the story. But I think also when you read through one shots, looking at how your players usually play and identifying this is going to be a lot of sandboxiness for them and they're going to want to do everything and it's not going to be a one shot versus my players kind of blaze through stuff. Yeah, I can get through this in 2 hours. No problem. You got to know your player group for that.
But if you are, let's say you get a contract tomorrow, somebody wants you to GM their game for you.
Those suckers.
And
How much did I charge? Going rate?
$80.
going rate.
They got taken.
And
Chumps.
you've got 3 hours of their time.
Yeah.
They've got 3 hours of your time. I think a little railroading is probably going to be in order.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be like frowned upon too much because it's kind of necessary. And then from there, know about how much time you have for everything. Maybe jot down, okay, this should take about 20 minutes. This should take about 30 minutes. Give them 40 minutes here for just role play. And if they go through more of it, cool. But, and then have something that can happen to push them.
Joe wants to know if we find it harder to prep for one shot since you're trying to condense the game into one session.
I think if you, instead of trying to condense the game, you just try to put less in it.
Yeah.
You follow me? Rather than trying to take a gallon of milk and put it into a pint container, I'm just going to get a cup of milk and pour it into a pint container. That way I have less room at the top for role playing and just getting.
For me, Joe, I find it incredibly difficult. I really am not a good DM for one shots. I'm just not. It's not for my play style. For the way I do. I'm not good at it.
I want to put an asterisk by my last statement. I've never pulled it off yet.
Hadn't done it.
But having now been led by
more
Bridget
prepared?
and Carrie through one shots, and I've watched several online, but it really didn't jive for me until we were players in a one shot ran by somebody who's very experienced at making things fit in a one shot. Then some things started to click. Trying to put too much in at the beginning. You're not going to do a one shot if there are 5 different battles to get through.
Right. No.
Not with our group anyway.
No. But I find for me personally, it's incredibly hard. I always feel an immense amount of pressure with one shots.
It don't bother me at all.
And I think that's just your style, the way your brain works. You're capable of doing that. I am so wishy-washy about things. I want you to explore every nook and cranny, and I want to develop your characters and have a great time. And I love that. I want it to take 8 sessions.
Right. So
That's just me. It's just who I am.
again, right?
Player style.
The only way this discussion is meaningful is if there is a need for something to be done in one shot.
Yeah.
Right? You're having a dinner party. This would be cool, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we pulled
done
off.
this.
Sarah, who was never DM'd before, pulled off a one shot
She did.
for us. It was like a 6-hour one shot,
Yeah.
so I don't know if she gets full credit. But
We take it.
It was pretty long.
it was. It was
But
a
then
long
again,
shot.
We have to deal with kids and
A long
eating
shot.
and
And
all that
for
stuff,
us,
too.
in that group, it's more about the time together and whatnot. But yeah, if you are playing something and you enjoy playing it, then don't make it a one shot.
Yeah.
You just got to know going in, is this a one shot? And then you have to develop it accordingly. John did a wonderful job with
Fantastic
the
job.
lightless beacon. I have taken a similarly sized scenario that was advertised as a one shot and could not pull it off in one shot.
to be fair, the lightless beacon, what I just said, like allot some time. It actually did that in the instructions. Like it said, you can take as much time as you want, but if you're wanting to run it in 2 hours, this should take about 25 minutes. And that's kind of where I learned that from. It was like, oh,
Oh, I
And
didn't. That
So
wasn't in
at
mine.
22 minutes, were then you looking for ways to nudge us out of whatever?
basically I ran it like a survival horror. you would start hearing some shit coming for you at the end of that time period. And if you wanted to stay and die, that was cool.
So not railroading, cattle prodding.
Cattle prodding.
Pretty much, yeah.
We should come up with a secondary term.
I think we should. And we
Cattle
can post
prodding.
a question and a poll out on
people
Twitter
are
and watch
stalling.
everybody blow up about that.
Right, cattle
What
prodding.
are your opinions on cattle prodding and TTRPG?
Only when you play with your children.
Just poke them.